I was running late. I had loaded up 56 bags of concrete tonight before work. So I have tomorrow morning.
Okay.
So
what's the concrete for?
We cut 2 great big holes in the swimming pool on the deck down in Eudora, looking for leaks.
Okay.
And found the leaks, and now I'll get it poured all back tomorrow.
Gotcha. Okay.
But it's easier to load up tonight when you're tired than the first thing in the morning.
Right. Okay. See, that's not something I would have ever thought of being part of your job.
Oh. I like breaking concrete.
National Hug a Plumber Day is April 25th, and because of that, I invited my very favorite plumber friend. It's Harvey Bost. Harvey, welcome to my home studio.
Thank you very much.
I'm so glad to see you again. So, Harvey, how long have you been a plumber?
44 years in May.
All right. Do you feel like you're starting to get the hang of it?
I think so, and it's time to retire, which is, after this many years, it's time to retire after 44 years.
Okay.
So, I think I pretty much got it down pat.
Okay, that's great. Now, I can imagine you've seen some things in your time working with pipes and...
yeah, a few things. A few things that shouldn't be that way, and a few things that, like, how'd they do this? One of those numbers. Older plumbers are really imaginative sometimes. They were limited with the material they had to work with, which is cast iron, and it takes up so much space. And therefore, it just really, you marvel at what they do sometime, but then you scratch your head and say, how can I fix it and make it right?
Okay.
But it worked for 40 or 50 years that way, but then when it goes bad, it just totally goes bad. And nobody works with cast iron anymore, so all plastic and PVC works great.
Yeah, so I had, in the first house I ever bought, it had a cast iron stack, which is the
main stack coming up.
The main like drainage coming from everything.
Yeah.
And I had a plumber come in and look at that, and he went, no. Because they're just heavy and hard to deal with.
They're heavy, and they're just nasty to work with sometimes. Especially the older stuff, which was extra heavy, which is about 25–30% more weight than the standard stuff. That's all they used back then. And it's rather depressing sometimes when you have to work overhead and try to get the stuff out without tearing anything up. You cut it in two and you go home with we use a grinder most of the time, or a chain cutter, and you still all the stuff falls on you and you just get covered in black stuff.
So it's...
You have to wash your beard 2 or 3 times to get it clean.
So this, probably most days, is a pretty dirty job. You get a little dirty.
Most days, yeah. But it comes with the territory.
Yeah, and you get cleaned off, right?
Yeah, that's why I go to the car wash. Well, on muddy days, I always take $2 worth of quarters with me and go to the car wash for like 4 minutes and clean myself off.
You just go to the automatic one and you just stand there.
No, they laugh at you. It takes more money to do that. But you wash it with hot water, and then you rinse off the soap, and then you go home and buy the clothes in the washer and go that way. Okay. Because the washing machine appreciates that.
I bet. So, and that way you avoid plumbing problems yourself.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. I've only had one plugged up drain in my house in my entire 44 years. So that's a good thing.
When most people think of, calling the plumber, they think, I've got a blocked drain or a frozen pipe or something. But I imagine there are hundreds of other reasons.
Dripping faucets, water heaters go bad, disposals go bad. And just stuff you don't know exactly what. Sometimes they call you up, they have a problem, they don't know what it is. So you just go out there and see what you need to fix it with. And the worst part is, stools nowadays, since there's like 100 different brands, you don't know what part to carry for it. Because you can stock your truck up and not have the right part sometimes. Okay. Same thing with faucets, we have to rebuild a faucet.
Now, would you say that the majority of your day is spent on those kind of minor repairs like faucets and such?
I work for my nephew.
Okay.
Again, Master Plumbing, I'll throw that in there.
Okay.
And it's one of those things that I usually don't know one day or the next what I'm doing. Sometimes it's service, sometimes it's sewer replacement, sometimes it's water services. Water heaters. It's always an adventure.
You were telling me just a little bit ago about loading concrete.
Oh yes. We were working at the Eudora pool, and their underground return line, which is 42 inches deep in the ground, was broken, and they had some people come out and locate it so they could tell you exactly where the spot's at, and then to get to it, take a hot saw and cut through 6 inches of concrete, and you take a jackhammer and take it out and put it in the truck and haul away. And then you dig a hole with the shovel. This hole was 4 foot wide, 42 inches deep, and 7 foot long.
Oh my gosh.
And there was another hole that was only 4 by 4, but that's okay. That was a little one. I like to dig holes. That doesn't bother me. And I don't mind getting muddy. But I got pretty decent helpers, and they do what I tell them to, and they're really good guys. As I tell them, you can't be afraid. It'll all clean off. So that's why I go to the car wash.
So, what are some of the things that you look back and there's some of the more memorable times that you've gone out?
The worst things are sewage ejectors when you pull them apart sometimes. Because the stuff that's in the line doesn't all come out. It usually comes out on you. One of those good numbers, you know what I'm saying? And most days, like I say, I've always said my worst day of plumbing beats my best day of doing anything else. Because I enjoy plumbing. I really do. I mean, I've got tattoos that say I enjoy plumbing.
A tattoo wouldn't lie to you.
Oh, heck no, like I say. One says, born to be plumber.
Nice.
born to plumb. That's my motto. The most memorable one we had, Paisanos, when they were in business.
Yeah.
They had a sewer line collapse, and there's no way to get machines in the place whatsoever. So we cut a hole like 4.5 foot squares through the concrete and dug a hole about 7 foot deep through gravel. It took us 4.5 days to dig down to it. And it took us like 2 hours to repair it. 10 feet of pipe and couplings to repair it. But it was the 4.5 days we spent digging down there by hand.
Wow.
Because we had to pack all the gravel upstairs and then bring it all back down. And my job was, I was in the hole, filling the buckets to give them help so they could pack it out. Because that was probably the worst job I've done in a long time. It was just 8 hours of digging gravel.
So I've always thought myself, I've done like this much plumbing. And it's satisfying to me because it's very easy to see if you've done it right or not.
Yes. It'll leak or it won't leak. That's a good thing.
So would you say things have gotten easier?
A lot easier, because when I started out, there was nothing but cast iron with rubber gaskets you had to drive in with a lead hammer or push in by hand. Really nasty. Then we switched to no hub, which was really great. Just tighten it down with a 5/16 nut driver and its cordless drill. It was great. And then everything switched to plastic.
How did you first get into this career?
I was working in a body shop, and I got upset at my boss, and I just quit. So my older brother, Jim, I called him up and said, Jim, JP, I just quit my job. You need a plumber? You need a helper? He said, oh God, we just hired one. Yeah, go ahead and show up at the shop. I'll make it right. So I showed up at Bryan Plumbing, and the gentleman who owned the place, Lynn Bryan, said, what are you doing, Harvey? I said, JP hired me. He said, okay. So that was the start of my plumbing career.
Okay.
Yeah. I went in cold turkey, and my brother said, there's nothing you can't mess up that I can't fix.
Okay.
And I put him to the task for the first year. Then after that, it started clicking, you know what I'm saying? It takes a while to figure everything out. And then after 3 years, I got my journeyman license. And then 3 years later, I got my master's. So after 6 years, I was a master plumber.
Okay.
I've been a master plumber since '83. So, like I said, it's been a great life. It really has. I love what I do. Even on my bad days, I love it.
That's great. I wish we all had jobs like that.
I don't know. I've always told my first wife, as I could tell my second wife also, yeah, I was a lost soul before I became a plumber. And if I listened to my brother to begin with, out of high school, it hired me straight out of high school. But I was too stupid, too stubborn.
So this is something you would recommend to people?
Oh, yes. It's a good profession, it really is. But once again, I don't know how to explain it. You have to have the attitude for it. It's just one of those things. Nothing's the same every day. And I'll correct myself that unless you're running big apartment jobs. And it's all repetition then. Once you do one, the other one's usually the same way. You plumb the same way.
What's the weirdest thing you've ever encountered while out on a job?
I pulled a dead fish out of a toilet one time. They flushed down about the size of your hand. They thought they could flush it down.
The answer was no.
The answer was no. You pull it down there and take a pair of pliers and you pull little Nemo out of the stool and say, here, throw it in the trash. And then last thing we pulled out of the stool, had to break the stool to get it out and show the person what was in there. Was a compact case, their makeup case. It dropped in there with the perfect size of the trap, and you couldn't get it out. So that was it. She said, oh, well, that's only a $300 mistake. Just weird stuff. I mean, all sorts of stuff you find down there, and just golf balls, which are really strange sometimes.
People will flush golf balls?
No, the dog has been known to the dog has been known to put them in the toilet.
Okay.
And they don't come out either. The new thing, tankless heaters. I love tankless heaters.
I was wondering about that. Yeah.
They're really nice units. I have one in my house I put in 2 years in July.
Yeah.
Because I switched from electricity, which, pardon my French, sucks. Hot water with electricity, it sucks. As long as you turn the water on and pay your gas bill, electric bill, you can have hot water as long as you want to run it. My boss filled up his hot tub with it one time.
No kidding.
104 gallons hot water.
Wow.
didn't drop.
All right.
But then again, as I said, it's 199,000 BTUs, so your gas bill reflects it. But other than that, but who fills up a hot tub, 105 gallons of water? Most time you don't appreciate a plumber until you need them. One of those numbers that, everybody makes fun of plumbers until your stool doesn't work, until your sink stopped up. I'm pretty sure half the people can't do what I do, homeowners can. One of those numbers.
Right.
We did a house for a gentleman who had a broken cast iron drain line and had to take out 2 stools and had to support the vent stack coming down and then cut it loose and replace it. It's one of those numbers overhead and a drop ceiling about 1.5 feet tall.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. And then that's when you take your grinder in there and cut everything out in sections like a foot long. Which is, and like I say, he was very appreciative. We showed him what's wrong. He said, "Oh my God." Because someone tried to fix it before with tar and baling wire and paper.
There's a little Dutch boy down there with his finger in it.
Oh, it had to be a whole hand. It was bad. Other than that, like I say, it's all the same. I mean, let's say every day's an adventure. I don't know if I'm doing service, if I'm doing new construction, if I'm doing remodel, or putting sewers in. It's great.
Great.
It really is.
Right. Well, it is Hug a Plumber Day, so I have to ask Harvey,
Sure.
would you like a hug?
Sure.
Great.
I know you.
There you got it. Thanks so much, Harvey, for joining us today. I learned some things. Hopefully you did too.
Yeah. I learned plumbing's great. Really.
The only way we keep the show going is with your help. Advertise with Northeast Kansas at Home, or if you're just a person, get a membership. $24 helps us for 6 whole months.